Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 5 of Tour of Romandie. Today's race, 150 kilometers, and they got a 4-lap circuit. They're going to go from a point out to the circuit. They're going to do about 35 kilometers each lap, and it has one category climb on it. That's 1.5 kilometers at 4.4%. So it's a little bit of a difficult climb, but mainly when you look at the course today, it has that climb, then it has this technical S-bend, super narrow, has some country lane roads, and it drops down a descent that's all S-bends all the way down as they cross over a dam. It's an exceptionally difficult course when you got a big Peloton going really fast and the roads are going to be wet and it's going to be cold out there. When the cameras come on, I actually want to take you back a little bit further to a couple of the interviews, because Lipovitz is giving an interview from Bora Hansgrohe. He says in his interview that some guys were kind of critiquing his style and tactics yesterday of the finish because he didn't wait, of course, for Vlasov. Now, if you're watching Carlton Kirby on Flow Bikes, Carlton Kirby thinks that Lipovitz should have waited for Vlasov. I don't think you wait for Vlasov, Carlton Kirby. What you have to do, though, if Vlasov doesn't have the legs, you have to follow the best riders in that front group. And you certainly, Lipovitz, don't attack and send your teammate Vlasov off the back. You wait for Carlos Rodriguez to attack and you follow that, or you follow the move from Carapaz, because if you can follow attack from Carapaz and Carlos Rodriguez isn't there, Vlasov isn't there, all of a sudden he can win the general classification. So you're absolutely right in terms of not being a knucklehead, Lipovitz, for staying with your teammate Vlasov, but you are a knucklehead because you're the first one who attacked and went up the road, and then you pulled Carlos Rodriguez and you pulled Richard Carapaz until he attacked, lit you guys up, won the stage, and the race leader's yellow jersey went over to Carlos Rodriguez from Ineos, instead of Vlasov, who was the best ranked guy in that group when you attacked your teammate. So you're absolutely a knucklehead, but for the wrong reasons than Carlton Kirby said on Flow Bikes. But you always follow the butterfly effect, right? That's what I'm here for. That's why I bring it to you guys. Now, the next interview I want to do before we get into the racing has to be Ayuso. Ayuso had a bad stage yesterday. He finished 11th. He got dropped by the GC favorites. He's still on the top 10 of the general classification, but he lost about 40 seconds yesterday on the stage. What he's saying the reason is for getting dropped is he says he's just carried his block of racing too far into the season. If you guys follow the butterfly effect and beyond the coverage, you know I like to say there's 3 parts of the season. It's the first part ending with the spring races. It's the Grand Tour starting with either the Giro or the Tour. Maybe you're doing both like Tadej Pogacar is going to do here in 2024. So make sure you like and subscribe because that kid's doing the Giro that's starting this next weekend. So that's the second part, is the Giro and the Tour. And then the last part, you finish it off with some of the smaller races and some of the smaller stage races. And then, of course, in October, you have the Road World Championships at the end of the season in August, September, October, you're going into Lombardia. So there's plenty to look forward to at the end all the way into October, finishing up with, of course, the 5th big one-day monument in the World Tour racing, and that's going to be Lombardy, but it's always 3 seasons. So what Ayuso's talking about is he thinks he's carried his top form a little bit too long after winning the Basque Country, which is kind of funny because his interview that I gave you guys yesterday, that was before yesterday's stage, he says he had good form because he won the Basque Country. Now he's saying, well, his form's kind of dropping because he went good at the Basque Country. So it's interesting, and this is the way riders, when we're training, I can guarantee you that I've gone out training sometimes. I've come back home. I flipped my SRM power meter over to my wife. She looked at it. She'd be like, wow, you're on form. I was flying. It was a great day. Could be the next day I felt bad. I come back home. I'm like, it's a disaster, babe. I don't know what's happening. And that's basically the interview that I'm looking at here from Ayuso, because like I said, before yesterday's stage 4, he's talking about Basque Country being perfect. Now he loses stage 4 in the race leader's yellow jersey. Now he's saying, well, he's carried his block of racing too long and his form's starting to fall. Every professional athlete, I think, thinks that way. You can have a high on one day and it can flip as soon as half a day's training is done, and all of a sudden it went bad the second half of training and you're having a miserable year until it goes good the next day, and then all of a sudden he's good again. Either way, he's lost his race leader's yellow jersey. We know Carlos Rodriguez and Ineos have it to start this last and final day. But as you can tell from the interview pictures that I sent you, it's raining, it's miserable, so we don't know what to expect. But Lipovitz, when his interview, if I take you back one more time again, sorry for that, but I forgot this detail. He said he'd be happy to just have it all come into the finish 3rd on the general classification, wrap this up and get out of here, hopefully all in one piece. So once the racing comes on, we see 4 guys in the front group. Up there, of course, we have Remy Cavagna up there. We have Rafferty from EF Education, Brenner from Tudor, and Ballmer from the Swiss national team. Those 4 riders got about a 2-minute gap on the peloton behind. But there's a lot of teams back there chasing because Ineos is going to ride the front. Trek is going to ride the front. They got the sprinter with Nice here. They for sure want to win. And we see this Q36.5s on the front. We get a few more kilometers into the race. Lotto Destiny is going to get on the front. That's 4 teams racing early. Now we get under about 50 kilometers to go. We're going to see the first attack here from Remy Cavagna in the break. He's going solo. He's going to stay up there for 10-15 kilometers. Then he's going to get company from 2 riders. As we see the Swiss national team rider, he's dropped out the back. There's 3 up there, but the peloton's at about a minute behind these guys. We know these guys are going to get wrapped up. It's just a matter of when and where. We get about 30 kilometers to go into the race, and this is when we hit the last final category climb here for the 4th and final time on the 5th stage here of Tour of Romandie. Once they go up the climb, things get exciting. We see the first attack from Cofidis. That's Guillaume Martin. He's throwing a huge attack. And we're going to see a slight bit of a knucklehead move here from the Colombian Egan Bernal. This one kind of hurts me just a little bit because you know he's one of my favorites. As Egan Bernal's going across the gap, I'm thinking back to sitting on Chesterfield, no. This is not the time to go across the gap, Egan Bernal, because you have Carlos Rodriguez in the back. And of course, it's wet, it's slippery, it's miserable, everybody's cold. It's going to be a technical race getting from this point of the race into the finish. So you got to stay with your leader, Carlos Rodriguez, because it's the butterfly effect, guys. And you never break the #1 rule on the butterfly effect unless for sure you know what you're doing. And the #1 rule on the butterfly effect, as you guys all know, you don't leave your race leader. If your race leader is wearing the yellow jersey, for certainly you don't leave them. And you certainly don't leave them. We're trying to follow the move from Cofidis. You want to go back there and you want to set the pace a little more steady. But instead, Egan Bernal's bridging across the gap. Then we're going to see Bora Hansgrohe get all interested because Egan Bernal's opening up the gap. All of a sudden, the peloton's exploding all over the place with Bora Hansgrohe just drilling it up the front. We got about 10 or dozen riders at the top of this final and last category climb here at Tour of Romandie. Once they're going over the top, we're going to see another attack again from the Cofidis rider Guillaume Martin. Then we're going to see that Carapaz, he's getting a little frisky. He's thinking maybe I'll put an attack, but he changes his mind. He doesn't. The next moves start to come from UAE team members, and they're tag teaming. 2 are going up the road. Look at the 3rd teammate back there on the left side. He's blocking the road back there for his teammates. They don't get too far because this group of 5-6 riders up here aren't working well together. So one UAE team members rider goes up the road. The other 4 guys go back to the peloton. Then we hit the last little bump. It's an S climb, a really hard little climb, but it's not rated in category. Once they hit the S bend, you'll see the UAE team members rider. He's up there solo. Now you're going to see Ayuso throw an attack. Once Ayuso throws in attack, he's going to bridge up to his teammate and go flying straight by him because he's going full gas, trying to get some time back on the general classification or just possibly hoping to win today's stage 5 because we know it's a long shot for Ayuso to be able to win the stage and take the race leader's jersey, but it's wet, it's miserable, and it's been incredibly technical out here on today's stage 5 of Tour of Romandie. Once Ayuso gets brought back, he's brought back, but of course the peloton's exploded. Look back there as it's exploding. Now let's go back up to the front. We'll see it's Ineos trying to control the front of the peloton right now and start to slow it back down. We look at the second group behind trying to get up to this first group of GC guys, and we'll see it's Little Trek back there that's closing up the gap, bringing the peloton back together. Now we get into about 22 kilometers to go, and we're going to see Enzo Paolini from FDJ throw an attack. He's throwing an attack. Look at the Movistar rider, Johan Jacobs there. Johan Jacobs pulling the peloton. It's all strung out. They're going across the top, and they're getting ready to drop down that S-bends that I showed you a picture of earlier, hopefully if I recall right. As they start the S-bends, we're going to see it's Movistar rider up there who caught and passed the FDJ rider going into this left turn. Once he goes into the left turn, now we're coming up to the S-bends. It's left, left, and then right again, and then left over the bridge. And once we go through the first left, we see, of course, Movistar. He makes it through there, Johan Jacobs, and on his wheel, he's got Enzo. Once they go into the right, we see the Movistar rider. He's going full gas, starts drifting over to the center of the line, doesn't touch the white paint, but the back wheel slides out anyways. Once it slides out, he goes all the way across the left side of the road there, hits the curb. Look at the female spectator there. She was crouched down. All of a sudden, she sees him coming at him. She leaps and jumps out of the way. As the Movistar rider, Johan Jacobs, the Swiss rider, goes sliding into the curb, hits the curb, and comes to a stop. Enzo makes it through the corner. Now, Enzo's going full gas, but guess what? We got to back the film up because Once we back the film up like they did live for us, we see there was a crash going into the first left. It's Alpecin de Koenig down with Intermarché rider and the Alpecin de Koenig riders yelling. Then the cameras fade down the hill as we see the tree railing there, and we see the Ineos rider climbing out. He clearly went over the railing. That's Jonathan Castroviejo as he's climbing his way back out of the railing. We go back down to the bottom of the S-bins here as we see Enzo Paolini, FDJ's now going solo. Guys, he was solo. He got caught. He went down to descent, second position, shot through the inside there with the crash of Johan Jacobs, and now he's going solo behind the Peloton. It's strung out. There's catastrophic disasters happening back there, but the camera's going to back right back up to Johan Jacobs as we see Johan Jacobs climbing on his bike. Look at the two Ineos riders going by. That's Ethan Hayter there and Jonathan Castroviejo that are passing by Johan Jacobs. Ethan Hayter had ridden throughout the whole beginning part of this stage 5. Why you have a sprinter riding through the beginning on a stage like this is beyond me, because when you look at Ineos's roster, they're filled with a few climbers for sure, but Hayter to me seems like the guy that should be controlling the Peloton, looking after the GC guys like Carlos Rodriguez and Egan Bernal in the final of this stage, because it's so technical and nasty in terms of left and right and all the slippery roads, but they used him early. Now he's out the back. That means they're just going to have the smaller guys up front. Now, once we go back up front to Enzo Paolini, look at him as he's going through the right, cutting through the island here, making the left through the roundabout, and then getting full gas going up this bump. When we look back, we see him getting caught, and that's Vendrame. Vendrame, AG2Rs, throwing in a solo attack, and he's flying by Enzo Paolini right here. I'm sitting on the Chesterfield like, what are you doing? You're a sprinter. When we look at your other sprinter on your team, he's already won a stage. That guy's name is Dorian Godin, so I don't know what Vendrame's doing, but he's going solo. We look at the Peloton behind. It's all of a sudden split up in two pieces. Somehow Ineos have gotten into the second Peloton, and I think Carlos Rodriguez is back there. That's what they were saying live, that he's possibly not in the front group. Maybe he's in there. I thought I saw one Ineos rider in that front group, but you look at the back second group they're chasing, there's 4 or 5 Ineos guys there going full gas, and I couldn't find any spot where they came off. If I take you back after they came out of the descent of that S-bins, where we saw Jonathan Castroviejo go over the railing, and of course Johan Jacobs crash into the side of the corner, almost hitting the female spectator, I didn't see when they exited that descent that they were off the back. The group looked big. I'm pretty certain I saw some Ineos guys there in the front, but I can't be 100% because it's raining and miserable, right? But now for sure, we see Ineos is chasing, trying to close the gap. They're going to close up, and then we're going to see Vendrame get caught. Now he's getting caught with about 13 kilometers to go, and he's getting caught by 2 guys. It's 2 Michaels up there. They're going full gas. That's Valgren and Hepburn from Jaco Lula. Those 2 riders are going flying right by Vendrame, like Vendrame was going flying right by Enzo Paolini back there. But now Vendrame's legs are dying, and man, you're a sprinter. I don't know what you were thinking, but there's 2 Michaels going right by you. Now as they're going full gas, the Peloton back there is getting organized. It's Visma Lease bike on the front, and Little Trek back there riding full gas, trying to bring these 2 guys back. They get them back with about 8 kilometers to go. And you start thinking, if you're sitting on the Chesterfield where it's dry and warm and nice, that this might be a safe time, that Ineos have got everything under control. It's only 8 kilometers to go. Carlos Rodriguez has got this in the bag, right? Well, look as they're coming by the train and the street's all narrowed up right there. As we see the flag guys waving them left and right, they're going to come by the train. They're going to make a hard right turn that's going to be slippery and miserable. Then they're dropping down like a forest hill. Then we're coming into 5 kilometers to go, and it's still just now reaching the town where the road starts going back up. We see a few more attacks, but they get brought back because Visma Lease bike's back there going full gas. Little Treks are in and around the picture all the time as we see the attacks from Cofidis, Guillaume Martin get brought back. Now we're coming into 3 kilometers to go. It's time for Ineos to go to work because they want to keep Carlos Rodriguez safe, right? Okay, it's still dicey as we're coming into the finish, but 3 kilometers to go. We know if there's a crash, Carlos Rodriguez is going to win the Tour of Romandie, but if there's any splits in the Peloton, that might not happen, so he still can't rest as Ineos are pulling on the front with under 3 kilometers to go. We go into 1.5. Visma Lease bikes, Julian Vermont there is on the front. He's pulling on the front. He's got a sprinter, Tim Van Dijk, just behind him. As Julian Vermont's pulling, we're coming into the left turn. He gets a little bit of help as EF Education come to the front and start pulling on the front too. Then we go under 1 kilometer to go. Vermont still on the front, but now he's looking back over his shoulder, so we start getting into about 800 meters to go. we start seeing coming up the left side, who's that? That's Nicolas Prudhomme and Dorian Godin, who's already won a stage here at Tour of Romandie. Now he's sitting second wheel. Just in front of him is going to be his teammate Nicolas Prudhomme that's pulling all the way up to the front, up to about 600 meters to go where they'll take over at the front. We look just behind him. We're going to see it's pretty interesting back there as we got a bunch of sprinters. Tim Van Dijk's way far back, probably about 5th, 6th row back there. And his lead out man, Julian Vermont, that was doing the earlier part of the pacing, is sitting right there about 3rd position. We start looking over to the right side. That's Milan Minton that's back there from Lotto Destiny, but he's still a little far back. Gianni Vermeersch, though, is right there by Dorian Godin's back wheel, so he looks ideal. Go back there about the same spot that we saw Milan Minton, but now go over to the left. Over to the left, that's Clement Venturi there, and he rides for Arkea Samsic. Now we're coming into about 400 meters to go. We're going to see Milan Minton. He starts moving up on the right side. As he's moving up to the right, look at Clement moving up on the left. They're both passing. They're coming up to about 350, 325 meters to go. The last left turn comes just about 300. And as we see Milan Minton slot in with about 320 to go, he's going to bump Gianni Vermeersch just a little bit and nudge him. If I took you back to the sprinter stage finish here, Gianni Vermeersch actually blocked and held up the wheel there of Milan Minton. So Minton's making sure Gianni Vermeersch can't do anything to him from Albacete to Koenig. But then look over to the left as Milan Minton backed off the gas. Now the split is starting to slow down up front as Nicolas Prudhomme starting to slow. Dorian Godin starting his acceleration, going to the right side of his teammate that did a spectacular job to get him into this final left turn. As he's going around the right, look to the left there of Nicolas Prudhomme. That's Arkea Samsic, that's Clement. He's coming over the left side there, Prudhomme. They're going to meet up in the middle as they're trying to make this left turn together. We see that Dorian Godin has a little bit of lead, but guess what? Clement's going to give him the elbow and give him a little nudge and say, hey, I'm right here. You can't make this turn too hard because I'm here. That's going to hold him up just a little bit. Dorian Godin, that is. Clement Venturi is going to go on the inside. Dorian Godin is going to get held up and go a little bit wide as they start to come out. When I back up the film, Clement, I said he had to come all the way from the left, but back the film up just a little bit before that when we're talking about 600 meters. He was back there bumping with everybody back there when he had to come out through the holes there and salmon his way to the front. Now he's come out of the last and final turn here of the last and final stage of Tour of Romandie with a lead on Dorian Godin. He hits the afterburners. Dorian Godin hits the afterburners. Simone Consoni, Lidl Trek. He was actually doing the lead out for Nice back there. If I take you back to the beginning of that last and final corner, look there as we see Simone Consoni was in a perfect position. We see Nice, he made his way up to his teammate, but once they got into the left turn proper, Nice got squeezed off. That's why he's no longer in the picture. But his lead-out man, Simone Consoni, is, but he can't follow the wheel of Dorian Godin, who's now coming up to 200 meters to go, and he's closed the gap up to Clement. After 200 meters to go on the left side, he passes Clement. He's going full gas. We see Simone Consoni doing everything he can, but the gap's a little too big as they round the top of the bump, coming in with 100 meters to go. Dorian Godin's got a second stage victory in the bag. And take a look there at second place, Simone Consoni, as Dorian Godin knows he's going to win today's stage. Goes all the way to the line before he celebrates, though, for sure. But look at the face back there of Simone Consoni as he looks right over his shoulder to try to find his sprinter, Nice. Well, Nice got bumped off, like I already told you guys, so he didn't get third or fourth on the stage. He's back there still outside of the top 5. But when we see third place on the stage, that's Dion Smith from Intermarché, rounds out the podium here of the last and final stage 5 of Tour of Romandie 2024. Now the GC guys, they all finished in this front group. We know Carlos Rodriguez wins the general classification. Vlasov Bora-Hansgrohe is second. His teammate Lipowitz 2 seconds behind Vlasov to round out the podium in general classification. Now with the win on the stage from Dorian Godin, not only did he get 2 stage wins, but he took the sprint leader's jersey away from Vendrami, his teammate, to keep it in the team, though, of AG2R to get 2 stage wins and a sprint leader's jersey here at the end of Tour of Romandie. KOM jersey, that goes over to Albacete de Koenigs Hallman that had it, and the youth jersey, well, that goes to Carlos Rodriguez because he won the race overall too and got 2 jerseys here at the end of Tour of Romandie. Now guys, this was a great week of racing, but we got the Giro d'Italia starting soon. So like I told you earlier in the video, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button because I'll see you guys for Beyond the Coverage and certainly for the Butterfly Effect for Stage 1 of the Giro d'Italia 2024. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys real soon.